So while we wait for a few more people to show up, in a couple moments I'm going to be passing the mic over to Eddie Z with Easy Trading Computers. He built my custom trade computer, and he is often presented to our trade room and to our guests. Maybe some of you have heard of him or heard his presentation. He gives a great presentation. He's extremely knowledgeable about trade computers and the type of equipment you should be using or not using as a trader. And whether you're in the market for a new computer or not, at some point you will be. And so we thought it would be great to bring him on and let him present his information, which, you know, every time I hear it, I learn something new. So in a few moments, I'll pass the mic over to Eddie, and we'll let him kind of show us what he's got to share with us today. And in the meantime, again, I just want to announce the Trend Jumper Forex Auto Trade service has begun, and that's using the end-of-day charts. You've probably seen us show them over the last year and a half. This strategy is just continually raking in some pretty big gains, and well, we finally launched a service where now you don't have to be the one pulling the trigger on those trades. You could open an account and let our professional trader trade them for you. And so we're really excited about that service. And if you want to know more about that, there is a video of a presentation we just did. It's hanging out there. Ron, I don't know if you could post the link for that. That would be great. And one other quick announcement I'll repeat is that we have a new free Trend Jumper trade plan strategy that we're giving away in the next several weeks. You're going to keep your eyes and ears open for that. And a whole new collection of brand new Forex trade plans for the standard Trend Jumper, and as well as some more advanced plans for the Trend Jumper Pro and Trend Jumper Pro Plus. So really excited, some of them featuring the new setup that we've been calling the measuring stick trade that's built into our most advanced version of the Trend Jumper, and these trade plans are working on a whole variety of time frames, and pairs are really excited about that. So, yep, I haven't put anything, I'm not projecting anything yet, Bill. In fact, I think right now what I'm going to do is stop talking and pass the microphone over to Eddie, and let Eddie share with us everything he knows about custom trading computers and the technology of equipment you guys should be using as traders. So Eddie, whenever you're ready, go ahead and take the mic and the projector and go for it.
Okay, hi everybody, I'm Eddie Z. I'm the CEO of Easy Trading Computers. And today we're going to talk about how to benchmark test your computer for trading. Let's see if it's fast enough for trading, that your computer really is up to speed to keep up with trading these days. All your trading platforms, your indicators, everything you need to keep up to speed. So just to get started, here are the three things we're going to talk about in this webinar. How to avoid the biggest trading computer misconception. Will your computer work for trading? And I'm going to give you a minimum checklist, everything you need to make sure your computer is up to speed. But before I get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself, how I got started with computers. And it really goes back to 1980. I'm dating myself now. If you guys remember this particular computer, this is the Apple II. Well, I was about 11 years old, and a buddy of mine got this computer, and he actually set up a modem to this computer, and people were dialing in directly, one call at a time, into his computer and logging into something called an electronic bulletin board. And he was the same age as me. We were in the 6th grade, and he had set up this bulletin board where people were posting messages for comic books. It was called the Batcave. Now, I thought this was like the coolest thing in the world, so I began a campaign to my folks to get a computer for the holidays. And what appeared under my tree looked a little bit more like this. And if you guys remember this machine, the Commodore VIC-20, it was essentially a toy. It wasn't anything like my friend's Apple. And I turned it on. I tried to load a program. Back then, you had to load a program with a tape drive, literally a cassette. Take 45 minutes to load a program. I was very disappointed with this thing. So that very first evening I had it, my folks went to sleep, and I pried the thing open. I took it apart. I had to know why it was so underpowered relative to my friend's machine. So that began like my lifelong interest in computers and trying to make them bigger, stronger, and faster. So all the way back to 1980. My Wall Street experience for me started all the way back in the 70s. I was very fortunate. My father was a floor trader on the New York Mercantile Exchange, and he used to take me to work with him ever since I can remember. And I always loved going there with him. It was, you know, men screaming, carrying on, behaving badly. And many, many years of going down there with him on days I had off from school. When I became a teenager, I became very interested in what was going on down there. And my father actually taught me how to draw point and figure charts using pencil and paper. And so I was always really fascinated in the markets. The day after I graduated high school, I started as a floor clerk on the NYMEX. And every college break, spring break, summer break, I was down working on that floor. And when I finally finished school and graduate school, I became a stockbroker myself. So I spent 17 years as a stockbroker all through the 90s, beginning of the 2000s, total of 26 years of Wall Street experience. So I know what we go through as traders. I know I can speak trade talk. I still am a full-time day trader myself. So I think I combine two good experiences, one being a computer nerd and two having extraordinary Wall Street experience. So my first trading computer, think back when I finished college, I got my Series 7, I started working for a little firm, and this firm had a boardroom with about 20 guys in it, and everybody had to share essentially what was an upgraded Quotron machine. If you remember from the movie Wall Street, these old kind of Quotron-looking machines. This was a little bit the next generation past that. It actually did have color letters and a black background, but we had to share it. And being that I was the rookie, I was allocated like 5 symbols. I could put 5 symbols up while the guy who I was sharing it with had about 50. That didn't work for me. So I went into the manager. I told him I could do surgery on this machine, add another screen, be able to see more symbols. And that was really the first trading computer that I built. And then all through the 90s, it became easier to add multiple monitors to your computer. And you know, obviously being a stockbroker in the 90s was a great business to be in. So I was always building my computers to handle as many monitors as possible so I can keep an eye on as many markets as possible. If you can imagine 4 of these big old CRTs on your desk, it certainly was it was a boatload for sure. So people ask me all the time, why do you need a computer for trading? And by the way, traders, I need to apologize. They are landscaping outside of my window, so if you hear background noise, I apologize for that. Why are trading computers needed? What's so special about a computer for trading? And it really boils down to what is the #1 misconception that traders have when it comes to trading hardware, when it comes to their computer. And that is not realizing the amount, the quantity, the waterfall of real-time data that's coming in through your broadband connection, not realizing how much data is coming in, and that your processor, which is the engine of your computer, needs to take all that data, turn it into charts and indicators inside of your trading platform, and it has to do it in real time. That's the biggest misconception. So think of it this way. You know when you load up a Netflix movie or you load up a YouTube video and you get this little circle? This is something called buffering. So a video signal is very, very similar in terms of the size of the real-time data flow coming into your machine. So when your computer is doing this thing called buffering, it's taking in that wide stream of data, and it's turning it into a high-definition movie. And it takes in a whole stream's worth and does a whole bunch of processing before it actually shows you the movie. And if you think about Netflix, at least on my TV, when I run Netflix when I stream it to my TV, even after I see the buffering, and after the video starts playing, it's still a little fuzzy for a minute till it goes fully HD. Now, as traders, we don't have any time for buffering. We have to have that real-time stream of data come in, the price data come in, and your computer has to turn that into charts and all of your indicators, and it has to do it spot on in real time. No time for buffering whatsoever. In fact, if your machine, if your processor can't do it in real time and there's a bottleneck there, it will take a fraction of a second to several seconds to display to you your pricing and your indicator data, and it can throw off your trading system. So it could lead to something called slippage. So if your information, the prices that you're looking at to draw your charts are off by a fraction of a second, think about it. You think the price of a stock is $20.15, and you go to buy it at the market when it was actually offered at $20.30, and you get filled at $20.30, you're going to be pretty irritated when your execution is that far off. And it's not because your brokerage firm did anything wrong, it's because the price you're actually seeing is off by a fraction of a second to several seconds because your processor can't show you everything in real time. Here's another example. Have you ever been down to a sports bar and they're showing the same game on all the TVs at the sports bar, but some of the TVs there are new HD TVs and some of them are the old school analog TVs? And have you ever noticed that little time delay between the analog TV and the HD TV? Sometimes there's a little time delay. So I actually grabbed this picture off Google, of all places, Google Images. This is the same game showing on all of these TVs. On the left, you see the guy. He hasn't even jumped up yet, but he looks like he could be going up for a dunk. And look at this guy on the right. He's actually started jumping. He's already into the play. This is the exact same game. This is the delay I'm talking about. This is that subtle little time delay that can cause your platform to show you prices that are a fraction of a second to several seconds off, and they could lead to that problem we call slippage. And if it's ever happened to you, it's incredibly frustrating. You know when you get a bad execution, it can trigger your fight or flight response. And as traders, if we get pissed off enough, we can really make a series of bad decisions. When you get upset or triggered, your body, your brain, does not differentiate whether you're upset about being chased by a lion, whether you just took a loss on something. To your brain, it triggers that physiological fight or flight response. And when you trigger that, your upper level, your frontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that does higher reasoning, blood actually flows away from that area of your brain as your body prepares to either fight or to run. And you're going to make bad decisions. And if you guys have been trading for a while, I think you know a little bit about this kind of weird downward spiral that can happen when you're really upset. So what I'd like to do is just do a quick demo and show you how you can check if your computer is fast enough for trading. So what I'd like to do here is just bring in, let's just do it this way. So we're going to do a demo to show you if your computer is fast enough for trading. So how we do that is, first thing we're going to do is we're going to check your computer's processor. What processor do you have? So the processor is the engine of the computer. It does almost all of the work to make sure that your data stream is turned into charts and indicators and that your programs are functioning spot on in the moment. So here's how you tell what processor you have. Click Start, and then right-click Computer. Now, if you're in Windows 7, where I'm in Windows 7, if you're in Windows XP, which I hope you're not, it's going to say My Computer. Then the next thing you want to do is click Properties. That's going to bring up a window that looks like this. In the middle of the page, you're going to see what processor you have. In my case, I have the i7-4930K processor. And I have 32 gigs of RAM, so make a note of how much RAM you have installed. And I also have a 64-bit Windows 7 professional operating system. So make a note of those three things: what processor you have, what RAM you have, and what operating system you're running. If you're in Windows XP, this window will look smaller and there'll be a tab that says General, and that'll also have this information. So again, it's Start, right-click Computer, and then Properties. So we now know what processor we have. In my case, I have the i7-4930K. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to a website, and the website is called CPUbenchmark.net. Troy or somebody, if you put that in the chat box, I would appreciate it. www.cpubenchmark.net. And that'll bring up this site. Now, the site does have, they've been redoing the site, so there's sometimes some weird code. It doesn't matter for our purposes. What we want to do is go to this drop down right here on the right. And once you just hover over that arrow, just scroll down to Searchable CPU List. Searchable CPU List. Now the search box is over here in the middle of the page on the right side, and we're going to search the i7-4930. And now see how it starts to auto-populate? Just make sure you match up exactly, and then you can go ahead and click on it, and then click Find CPU. So what this website is, in case you're wondering, this website is an independent company that has written software that people from all over the world download and install on their computer, and then it essentially runs a speed test. It forces the computer to run a series of formulas and algorithms and then measure how fast it can solve these formulas and algorithms. The higher the number, the faster the computer. Now, my benchmark score is right here, 13,281. Now, what does that mean? Because you're all going to have different numbers, because there's literally hundreds of different processors out there. The minimum benchmark score for trading is 7,500. 7,500. So if you come up with a score less than 7,500, you have a pretty good probability of running into slippage. The lower that number, the higher the probability of having a problem with slippage. And I'm going to put up a slide that has all of these on a checklist slide. So we'll go over this again. The next thing, that's the next part of the formula for having a super fast computer. So think of having a super fast computer for trading is a formula, and it equals, and there's a couple of variables. The biggest variable is the processor. So we know what that is now. We know if we're in line on that variable. The next most heavily weighted variable in that formula is your internet speed. And the single best place, in my opinion, to get your internet speed is to go to a website called www.speedtest.net. So you want to go to speedtest.net. Don't click anything. I have an ad blocking software running right now, and You can't see, but you will, on most of you will probably see a lot of advertising. Try to ignore it. What we care about is this big green begin test button. So I'm here in South Florida, and we're pretty lucky down here. We have fast internet. So the first number that it's going to measure is something called the ping. And you'll see the ping here, 9 milliseconds. Now, you want to make sure your ping is under 75, under 50 milliseconds. We'll say 75 milliseconds. Anything above that, and you could start to run into some slippage. And what the ping is your...
Hey, Eddie, your mic went dead. We stopped hearing you.
Or a modem to ping to that location, and that took 9 milliseconds. It sent a signal, and it looked for an echo back, and that happened in 9 milliseconds. Okay, good. So the next most important number, well, these are all equally important, but the next number is the download speed. The minimum download speed for trading is 5 megabits per second. Anything lower than that, and your data is actually can get bottlenecked, and that can be a problem. And then on the upload speed, the minimum upload speed is at least 1 megabit per second. 1 megabit per second on the upload speed. All right. So that is the first two most important variables of having a super fast trading computer. So let's put up the checklist real fast. So as I said already, minimum benchmark score of 7,500, ping less than 75 or less than 50 milliseconds. The lower the number, the better. Download greater than 5 megabits per second. Upload greater than 1 megabit per second. Now the third portion of that variable is something called the RAM. RAM is random access memory, and that's actually the onboard memory of your computer. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this term. Nowadays, it's super important to have at least 8 gigabytes of RAM for trading. And the reason is your trading application will use at least 4. Windows will use about 1. And when you start running other applications, for example, Omnovia is pretty resource intensive, and other items, you can get up near 8 gigabytes pretty quickly. So it's best to have some overhead. I recommend at least 8, and 16 is a good place to be as well. And then the last item in this formula, and there are other little teeny tiny things that probably are beyond the scope of this webinar, but the last most important item would be your operating system. And specifically, I'm talking about not running Windows XP anymore. A couple of reasons why. Number one is it's only 32-bit. 32-bit is kind of like, remember the old days, you would be driving down a highway and there'd be a toll and everybody would line up, wait for 10 minutes to throw a quarter into a basket, and it was annoying. I mean, a toll booth, those old school toll booths are by definition, that's a bottleneck. Well, that's what Windows XP is like. That's what 32-bit is compared to 64-bit. Think of now when we all have, in Florida at least, we have something called the Sun Pass, and most places have these now, where there's a little transponder in the car. You don't even have to stop to cross the bridge or get on the toll road, and you just whisk right through as if nothing happened. All of the bottleneck is released, and that's what 64-bit does. So it's super important that you be on a 64-bit operating system. And so why not? Why else not have Windows XP? Well, if you haven't heard already, on April 8th, Microsoft discontinued supporting Windows XP, which means that they're not releasing security patches for it. And as time goes on, there's going to be more and more attacks, more and more malware attacks, virus attacks, and potentially identity theft. So think of it this way. This is kind of a unique thing with this. Windows XP, Windows 7, and Windows 8 are built on a very similar architecture, which means that as Microsoft releases security patches for Windows 7 and 8, and even Vista, hackers can reverse engineer these patches and figure out what the vulnerability was. And if people who are still using XP will then be vulnerable, even more vulnerable. So it creates, Microsoft is actually going to tell hackers where the weaknesses are as they release new security patches, which is just an ironic situation. So you do want to get off of XP as soon as possible. Don't let this happen to you. So, by the way, everything I've mentioned today is available in my Trading Computer Buyer's Guide. So if you guys go to this page, tradingcomputersnow.com/NP1, tradingcomputersnow.com/NP1, and it looks like this, tradingcomputersnow.com/NP1. Go ahead and enter your email address. And click the Get Guide button, and I will send you the guide instantaneously. And by the way, I did put together a special deal for NetPicks people because Windows XP is expiring. This is one of the lowest price packages I've ever put together for people. So if you are in need of a computer, it might not be today, that's fine, but if you are in need, you might want to check out this package. This is my Apache Easy Trading computer. It has a benchmark score of 10,200, so it's way above where you need to be for trading. Comes with 8 gigs of RAM. Comes with something called a solid-state hard drive. A solid-state hard drive is a hard drive that's different from the traditional hard drive. Think of your... Have you ever noticed your iPod can really kind of take a beating and the songs never disappear? That's because it has a little tiny flash memory chip built into it. Has no moving parts. It doesn't have a little tiny hard drive. It has a flash memory chip. It's all electronic. And a solid-state hard drive is built on those chips. Therefore, it's incredibly more reliable. It's also 7 times faster. And that's another piece of the latest technology that really speeds up computers. All of our computers come with 5-year warranties and lifetime technical support. We're also throwing in a few more bonuses. You can check those out down below. We do have a deal with TradeStation, by the way, that if you open a new account with them, or even FXCM, you can get 20% cash rebate back on every trade you do. TradeStation is 20% rebate on the commissions you pay. They will just rebate it back into your account until your computer is paid for, your easy trading computer. FXCM does it in the form of 0.2 of a pip per trade. So you guys can check that out at your leisure. And with that, I will open it up to questions. Troy, if you could help me, maybe just read the questions to me, and we can take them one by one for about 10 minutes.
You know, it's just the guarantee is worth thinking about because you know, computers they can have problems, and I know that having a 5-year guarantee, I mean, that goes a long ways. That's worth a lot right there.
And we do have the lifetime tech support. So it's my guys. They build these. They're the ones who build these computers. They know them inside and out. Now, they don't know trading like I do, but they do know these computers. So I see a couple questions coming in. And so the first one I'll address is, do you only get slippage on market orders? And the answer would be potentially yes. If you put in a limit order that was right in between the market, though, and there was some kind of lag in getting it out there, that potentially could lead to slippage. You could miss that trade. So the answer is yes and no. Ron is asking me, what operating system do you use, Windows 7 or 8? And I personally love Windows 7. 8, here's the problem with 8. 8 works, but it was really designed for handheld devices, smartphones, tablets, because Microsoft felt so behind the 8 ball, they wanted to compete with the iPhone operating system and they wanted to compete with Android. There isn't any tremendous improvement in functionality, and in fact, most people are very frustrated with it because the interface you have to learn a totally new interface. The original version had the start button missing, and I mean, I hear people almost every day, oh, I just bought a laptop with Windows 8. I'm buying a desktop today, and I do not want Windows 8. So most people just don't like it. They don't get it. Let's see. Any other questions out there?
Well, nice endorsement from Bill.
Oh, thanks, Bill. I appreciate it. Can you put Win 7 on a Windows 8? So if you have Windows 8 already, especially on a laptop, it's actually, we can do it, but it's a hack. You actually have to get into the BIOS and change a whole bunch of settings. And it kind of took us a while to figure it out. It can be done, but it's not simple. If you have a desktop, it should be a lot easier. It's just a function of buying a license and installing it. Dirk, I don't know if you can do it. If you'd like to give us a call, by the way, you guys can call me with any questions you have whatsoever about trading technology. I'll just give you an honest answer. There's no big sales pitch or anything. The 800 number you could see there in the chat bubble, 800-387-5250. But Dirk, if we have a conversation, I'll be able to determine if you can do it. So I think I'm going to wind this down for now, Troy, but I appreciate you having me on. If you guys have additional questions, don't hesitate to click chat or to give me a call. I'd be more than happy to help you.
That was great. Thanks again, Eddie. Really appreciate you taking time out of your Friday to be with us today.
No problem. Troy, thanks for having me. And all the guys at NetPicks, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you having me here. And anything I can do to help anybody, just let me know. That's what I'm here for. Have a great weekend, everyone.
All right, so hopefully you guys found that informative at the very least. We have Eddie on every now and then, so I'm sure we'll have him on again in the future. Again, make sure you keep his number and contact information because he's a great resource. He's a great guy, and he's got a lot of integrity. He lives and breathes this stuff. So just think that you got an expert in your back pocket now when it comes to your trading equipment. So before I let you guys go for the weekend, I did want to repeat some of the announcements I made earlier for some of you that got in late. Sorry about the password thing. As you may have heard, we've started the Trend Jumper auto trade service using the end-of-day charts. And for those of you who are interested in swing trading Forex but just can't make the commitment to be there with your charts day in and day out, 5 days a week, which is what it really requires to succeed, you may want to consider the auto trade service. And I also want to just alert you that we're going to be coming out with a brand new free Trend Jumper strategy. That's coming out in the next several weeks, so you're going to want to keep your eyes and ears open for that. You're going to want to download it. It's absolutely free. Works really great. It's on a 15-minute chart. I think you guys are going to really enjoy that if you're Forex traders. And also just a whole new collection of Forex trade plans about to be released to the Trend Jumpers Owners Club, which will work on all the different versions of Trend Jumper. So we'll be showing more of those as time passes over the next several weeks as well. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. And some of those I'll be sharing in the live trade room as well. Are there any other questions or comments before we say goodbye to you guys today? This is your chance to type them in. And I don't see anybody rushing to the keyboard, so I think I'm going to say goodbye to everybody and wish you all a great weekend. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again at the next NetPicks Hangout. Have a great weekend, everybody.